Let me be honest about something before the video starts. I was already in the water when that woman arrived. Already past the part where your body argues with you. Already settled into the cold. When I heard footsteps coming down to the pier. She walked down with a towel over one arm and looked at the water, then at me, then at the camera sitting on the pier behind me. What she said here is,
Jeg vil ikke fotograferes. Det er godt, tak.
I don't want to be recorded. And of course I said yes. Before I continue, this channel is about cold water plunging and exploring the Danish coast. If you want to disconnect from a fast-paced life, welcome. You'll experience how each plunge feels, so follow along to discover the beauty of this part of Scandinavia. This morning I took a cold plunge north of Copenhagen. The air was 5 degrees Celsius, which is 41 Fahrenheit, and the water just around the same at 7 degrees Celsius, which is 44.6 Fahrenheit. The kind of conditions where there is nothing to hide behind, nothing to blame the cold on, except the cold itself. I had been driving close to this spot a few times, and today I thought I need to go and experience it. And this time I stopped. The pier is a very nice structure overlooking Denmark, but as well as Sweden. The weather was fantastic. And there are places along this coastline that have a very special feeling to it when it comes to cold plunging and water. And I absolutely think this is one of them. When I got in, I had the place for myself. And then that lady came down with no wetsuit, no thermometer, no phone in her hand, just the towel and a kind of unhurried pace that tells you this is not the first time. So like I said, she asked me not to film her, and I agreed. And then we were just two people in the same cold water saying nothing. Which does sound strange, but didn't feel strange at all. It felt like the most ordinary version of that morning. When she got out, she dried off on the pier, and right there in the open air, 2 meters from where I was standing, with nothing between her and the morning except the towel. No cubicle, no changing room, no apology for taking up space. And then she left and I was in the cold again. And the harbour went quiet, and I found myself thinking that this is such an ordinary situation. But the part you will not see on the video is that most Danes don't wear clothes while going into cold water. Neither do I, but because there is a camera, you won't see me without clothes. And again, to be honest, the camera does change a bit my relationship to a full cold plunge, and it got me to reflect on many things. I've been witnessing this for years, but where I come from, this situation would have been very different. Where I grew up, in France, near the mountains, the body in public was always handled. Not shamefully, it wasn't dramatic actually, but there was always a low-level calculation running in the background. The awareness of being seen, the gap between comfortable and not comfortable, the quiet management of how you take space. In France, nudity carries something, history, rebellion, art. It means something which also means it's never quite neutral. And here, it just is. The first time I saw someone change on the Danish pier, I looked away out of instinct. Old, automatic, nothing to do with judgment. They weren't thinking about me at all. But I looked away because that's what the body had learned to do. Even when the crowd is 3 people and a ladder. It took me longer than I expected to unlearn that. I've been cold plunging along this coastline long enough to know that this scene, the unhurried exit, the pier, the open air, is not unusual. At almost every spot, at some point in the morning, someone will change on the pier. no reason to hide, no reason to rush either. Just getting dressed because they are cold and in the morning you need to move fast. And nobody looks, not out of politeness, not because they are making an effort to be respectful. There simply isn't anything to look at. The body here is not an event. I've thought about why that is. And the more I spend time on it, the clearer it becomes. There is a cultural aspect to it, of course. But sometimes I believe it's simpler than that. When you've been getting into cold water regularly, in a place where people have done this for a very long time, the body stops being something you're managing. It becomes the vehicle you arrived in. You get in, you get out, you dry off, you go home. What changes isn't your body. It's what the body is for. The water was cold, not dramatic, just present. Again, the kind of cold that takes one breath and then stops being something you're thinking about. I stayed in longer than I had planned. At some point, I stopped thinking about the camera, stopped thinking about the angle or the light or what any of this would look like later. I was just in the water, in a harbour north of Copenhagen, with Sweden sitting quietly on the horizon and the ladder dripping somewhere behind me. After my cold plunge, I got out, dried off on the pier. The woman already had left by then. Gone before I finished floating, probably home, probably making coffee, probably not even thinking about any of this. And I don't know how to explain it, what it is about this country and bodies and cold water. Except to say that I've been doing this for a while now, and I have never seen someone look for a place to hide. Not once, not at any spot along this coastline, in any season, in any weather. And it's not confidence. Confidence requires an audience, a before and after, and a story about overcoming something. This is not that. She was not overcoming anything. She was just getting dressed because the morning was cold and she wanted to get home. That's the part I cannot stop thinking about. Not what she did, but how little it mattered for her. And when I think back, she asked me one thing, and I said yes. We were in the cold together for a few minutes without saying anything else, and then she went home. And that's what cold plunging can do to you. Just one morning, one cold plunge, and a fantastic experience to reflect on. What are your thoughts about it? And how is it in your country? And how would you react? You're very welcome to comment, and I'll make sure to respond to it. By the way, I'm just an ordinary guy who really happens to love the cold and water. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode.